All right, we're right on time, so let's keep it that way. We can move on to our next speaker. Marco Angrisani is an economist also within USC CIPHER and assistant professor within the USC Economics Department. His paper will be on worker preferences and expectations in the aftermath of the pandemic. Marco?
Thank you, Andy. So this is joint work with Ari Cattain and Francisco Perez Arce. And what motivates this data collection effort and analysis is the desire to understand a little bit better the recent US labor market trends. The COVID-19 pandemic has introduced a mass social experiment in working from home, and this in turn has dramatically changed workers' habits and expectations for what it is a normal work schedule or a normal work arrangement. At the same time, during the pandemic, people have had different experiences. Some people stayed home because they were working from home. Some were on furlough, some were unemployed. Unemployment benefit generosity was increased. There was stimulus money. And some people experienced changes in family or caregiving responsibilities. All these things together may have led some people to rethink their career and maybe pursue a better work-life balance. These could be the driving forces of some of the phenomena we are witnessing right now, like the great resignation wave or the fact that firms are struggling finding new employees. While different and mainly anecdotal narratives have been used to make sense of these trends, we are really lacking empirical evidence and data about how workers' preferences, demands, and motivation have changed. And that's exactly where we come in with this survey, which we designed and administered in the UAS, trying to measure the pulse of the workforce. And in order to be up to date, we try different questions, trying to elicit ability to work from home, willingness to pay for an additional day of work from home, but also overall job satisfaction, intentions to change job, and reservation wage. Basically, what is the minimum wage that would you accept to remain in your job? Now, in the interest of time, I'm going to focus only on the analysis that we did about working from home. This is the question that we asked. Consider your current job. Are you able to do that job from home, at least partially? And in order to clarify that we meant if you are able to do your job from home because the tasks that you perform can be done at least partially from home, we provide this example where we say a bartender is not able to do their job from home, but an admin assistant may be able to do so. So this is nothing to do with whether or not the employer allows you to work from home. It's about the tasks that you actually perform. What we find is that 48% of the sample answered this question affirmatively. There is a big difference between men and women. Women are more likely to say that they are able to work from home, and this difference is mainly driven by the kind of occupations that men and women hold. The most striking finding is, as you would expect, the very steep gradient with respect to education. As you can see here at the bottom of the slide, only 21% of people with high school or less are able to work from home, but among college graduates, this fraction is 73%. And as I'm going to show you right now in this slide, this gradient persists both in terms of size and statistical significance when you control for a wide range of demographics and most importantly for occupations. Here on the left, you see the gradient by education and income. So let's focus just on education. If you compare college graduates to people with high school or less, college graduates are between 25 to 30 percentage points more likely to say that they can work from home. The patterns across occupations are also in the expected direction. For instance, if you compare people working in the healthcare sector or production or transportation or construction with the reference category, which is education, all these people are between 20 to 40 percentage points less likely to be able to work from home. We asked about preferences. So how often do you want to work from home? And we see that 33% of the sample say that they would like to work from home at least 5 days a week, so basically all the time. And only 14% say they don't want to work from home at all. But then we ask, okay, do you think your employer has plans for you to work from home? And we see that 25% think that employers have a plan for working from home or allowing to work from home for 5 days or more. But 20% think that their employer will not allow any work from home, and a sizable 23% does not know what the employer's plans are. For those for whom we observe both preferences for working from home and expectations about employers' plans, we can compare the two. And we see that for 50% of the sample, preferences and employers' plans seem to match. But for a sizable 37.5% of the sample, individuals have a preference for working from home more than they expect the employers to allow them. And we looked at the drivers of this discrepancy, and the main driver seems to be commute time, which is shown right here. If you compare people in the first quartile of the commute time with those, if you compare people in the second, third, and fourth quartile of the commute time with the people in the first quartile, you see that these people have a much higher probability of saying that they would like to work from home more than the employer allows them. There are also interesting differences by occupation. For instance, people in art, entertainment, and sport, or personal care and services are way less likely to want to work from home more than they expect the employers to allow. But the opposite is true for people working in construction or extraction. We elicited also willingness to pay for an additional day of work from home or for working from home all the time. So suppose that you have a worker earning $100 a day. We ask, would you accept a $5% cut, so $5 cut for an additional day of work from home? If they say no, we propose a 3% cut. If they say yes, we propose a 4% cut. And if they say yes to that, their willingness to pay is 4%. And you can see the tree here that we use. Now, what we see is that, consider, for instance, the graph to the right. This is the subsample of people who would like to work from home more than they expect the employer to allow them. And 47% are not willing to give up any money at all to be able to work from home an additional day. But the remaining 53% is willing to pay quite a bit for an additional day of work from home. And the correlates of this are, again, commute time. So people who commute more are more willing to pay. And on the other hand, people who earn more are less willing to pay. We see similar patterns when we look at willingness to pay for 100% work from home. Of course, willingness to pay in this case increases quite a lot. As you can see, the fraction of people who are willing to give up even 5% or more of their income is much higher. And the correlates are pretty much the same as before. Next, I want to show you briefly that we have heterogeneity in preferences. So this is the subsample of 155 individuals who would like to work from home fewer days than they expect the employers to want them. And in this case, you see that they are also willing to pay quite a bit. At least a third of the sample is willing to pay for one fewer day of work from home. Next, we correlate work from home to job satisfaction. Here, the omitted group or the reference group is the group of people for whom preferences for work from home are exactly matched by employers' plan. So what we find is that conditional on demographics, occupation, and benefits availability, the likelihood of being very satisfied with the job is 12 percentage points lower among those who are not able to work from home at all, and among those who would like to work from home more than the employer plans for them, compared to the omitted group. And again, the omitted group is the group for whom preferences and employers' plans match. So this seems to indicate that job satisfaction is actually related in the aftermath of the pandemic to the ability to work from home. And to put things in perspective, think that the likelihood of reporting the highest level of job satisfaction is 9 percentage points lower for Blacks and 9 percentage points higher for individuals with household income above $100,000. In order to look a little bit, or we started looking into the issue of the Great Resignation. So we have in the sample about 18% of people who are currently looking for a new job. And what we find again is that there is a significant difference between those who can work from home and those who cannot. And this is true even within education groups. As you can see here, within each of these education brackets, individuals who cannot work from home are way more likely to be looking for a new job. And these differences persist when you control for other demographics and occupations. So just to conclude, the vast majority of working individuals who can work from home reveal a preference for work from home well beyond the end of the pandemic. The ability to work from home seems to significantly affect both job satisfaction and potentially job turnover. The benefits of work from home are likely to accrue disproportionately to highly educated and better paid workers, which is likely to increase disparity in the labor market. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Marco. Do we have questions for Marco? Anybody? Kathleen?
Yeah, this is super interesting. I was wondering, how do you assess the mismatch for the people who say they don't know their employer plans?
No, they are not assessed.
Okay, so they're like dropped out, and
yeah, they are in that analysis. Yes, we cannot do the comparison exactly.
Okay, and when
so
was
basically
the
among those who report both preferences for work from home and they know or they have an expectation about what the employers is going to do, we compare these two measures to have an assessment of the mismatch.
Okay. And when was the survey? When did you guys do
the survey was done between October and November. And we
2021?
2021, and we plan to have a new wave soon.
Very cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Preeti Zanwar asks in the chat, do you have data on whether they were working prior to the pandemic and during the pandemic, on where they're working? Or curious if the preferences changed pre-pandemic to pandemic.
So we know if people were working before the pandemic, but we don't have a measure of ability to work from home before the pandemic. The earliest measure that we have was collected in March 2020, which was our first wave of the COVID tracking survey. And in that case, since there were all these talks about people not being able to go to work, we asked whether people could work from home. But that's the earliest measure we have. We could, because I've seen papers using ONET to have a proxy for ability to work from home. So we could use that together with occupation codes to approximate the ability to work from home before the pandemic.
So you do have some ability to look at the evolution within the pandemic from early on till more recent, because we know that policies at employers changed over that time.
Yes, but we don't have preferences for working from home, throughout the pandemic. This is the very first time we asked about preference. We elicited preferences and willingness to pay.
So Marco, I was also left wondering, you talk about the comparison of preference to work from home and ability to work from home from the employer's perspective. Some of us found ourselves in the situation where we were required to work from home. So it wasn't so much that the employer was, whether the employer would allow it or not, they were actually forcing it. And I don't know if you have thoughts on that as well.
Well, this is meant to kind of capture recent trends in the labor market, which we think are trends in the aftermath of the pandemic. And now it really looks like we are seeing the light out of the tunnel. But so we think that at this point, the being forced to work from home, being required to work from home is probably less of a problem. Because what's going to happen is that employers have realized that employees have different preferences and may allow them to work from home, probably more than before the pandemic. So that's the kind of thing that we are trying to capture with this survey. I have not thought of restrictions coming into place again. That would change things, of course, dramatically, because then it's not about anymore what people like, but it's what they are required to do.
A softer version of that is that many companies are downsizing their space, and because of
right.
this. And so while they may not require people to work from home, it may be less and less comfortable to work at work than it is to work at home, because
that is true.
Maybe more crowded.
So, yeah, that is true.
Well, we're at time for that. Thank you very much, Marco.